I thought it necessary to add this epilogue now that my story is over, for there were some hypocritical reports of my demise. I have heard that I died years ago, that my bus overturned and I died in consuming flames, or that I was run over by a red bus. None of these facts are true. I lived out my old age, and I am now dying, and I felt I could come back to this adventure that happened in my life so long ago. It's hard to remember the exact details, but I've tried my best. Please excuse any error on my part. For the mind is such a powerful computer, but like a computer, it can also lose its data, or become obsolete. I am ready for my shutdown, but I cannot complain, for I have lived a long and joyful life. Not long after I found my way in life, I was married to the woman who had first met me in the White Robe City, and we adopted Jason, who came back after his father sadly died of a heart attack. We three lived happily in our new world, a world of peace, harmony, and contentment. I can say with all honesty that the time before then was a shadow of the happiness, and the life spent thereafter had been in much better use. I would often sit by Jason as he grew up and thank God for this gift. As with my first wife, who couldn't have children, we had tried to adopt a child, but our government, which we contributed so much, betrayed us and said no. I remember vividly when I went to ask the Home Office of his decision, the man there would let me in, spat on me, called me a mongrel, and kicked me with his governmental boot onto the government pavements below. How bitter I was that I had paid his wages through my taxes, and this is how they treated their law-abiding citizen. When I saw so many criminals getting their own way by deception, and now I had adopted Jason, this new government showed each due respect. I remember the snotty judge in court who smiled as she jotted down 52 reasons why we couldn't adopt, a smile on her face, her heart hidden behind a desk. The law used to be an ass, which had no heart, but now people acted with truth in every matter. My death, how long it will take, no one can tell me. It is the disease of cancer that will take me in the end. But all men must die. Even my wife and child are gone, but I imagine they sit by my bedside right now. Soon I shall be with them in heaven, have no fear. Maybe they shall find a cure for this disease, but I'm sure in the time they shall. But death will always be there. For it is only with that, as with life itself and the time in between, that man may reflect and best use his time given by God Almighty. But I do feel the sadness of death, of leaving this existence, before I move on to one more permanent. I shed the tears for all the memories that I cling on, whilst I make over this passing. I am connected up to a heart monitor, my breathing is done with a tube. I soon will fade, and all will remain is the part of my body to give on up. Throughout my many years after those events I reflected on them, often walking from my house to the workplace, or on the single red bus they gave me to keep as a souvenir. Now that I had a driving license to be able to drive it, I would see familiar streets and remember certain things. It sometimes felt to me that it could not have happened, it seemed so distant. I remember the elderly lady I saw as she faced this moment. I remember those zombified tramps that tried to kill me. Twice at the beginning and near the end. We never did see them again. I remember my first wife unable to say goodbye to me. I remember all the times harking Jenny the Overgates. So much happened in that short space of time. At the time I suspect I would have wished not to experience it, but without that I would not have been the man I am today. I had to go through that process to be reminded of something that was always within my heart and soul, that we are part mortals travelling a spinning globe, that it is not of our making. We are a part of the stars as the makeup of the universe. It is God Almighty who in His mercy and grace gave all life and set in motion everything, gave us thought, freedom, speech, and all that can be perceived. And that which cannot go, so that we might be. And yet I knew all this deep down, and I remember I prayed to God when I wanted this radiation to stop, and though He did not hear or answer me, and when the Scrag City came to its end, I felt there could be no God above. Who could let such things happen to His creation? But I turned back to Him again when in trouble when I was falling from a high-rise building. I did not think of it afterwards. I survived. I did not even think how much I should pray to him, yet he still led me to the people who brought him back to me. There are those who blame God for deaths, those for their lives. He cannot win, as man is sometimes the most ungrateful. Surely it is his choice when he takes life and gives it. Man looks at everything through his own eyes, not understanding man can only see as man does. That it is within suffering that man progresses. I remember when my wife explained this to me, how much bitter sense it did in fact make. That imagine when the first car was built and a child died inside. It was only through the suffering that man invented the safety belt. When buildings were knocked down and thousands died in earthquakes, it was this suffering that made man build stronger foundations. Man couldn't have done these things before these deaths, but it was the suffering alone that pushed man forward. It has happened since creation, since the first death. With disease and so forth, and also in death, there is the knowledge that we have a short amount of time, and to make the most of it. If it were endless and immortal, there would be no progression in mankind, and no need for rebirth. For many years in the old times, man would blame God for infanticide deaths, but as this future proved, this in fact lay at man's feet. For in the spiritual and intellectual utopia millions less died. There was on currency no need for aid, one product instead of millions, wasting time in manufacturing and pointless competition. No one was left to die of disease or starve, when others had cures and food. No cost was put on livelihood. Everyone was given a house, transport, medicine, hospital treatment. We had money, but only for non-essential things. Everyone is provided by the state. Money is there, but it is no longer the ruling factor. Man has retaken his claim. For years, men and poets dreamed of this day, would question why God had given us free reign of this beautiful world, only for us to choose for people to die, starve, live in debt and alone. We make our own futures, and at last we made one we could be proud of.